Yo, what's going on everyone, Z-Karma here, and welcome back to another boring math video here in Borderlands 3. Today we're going to be talking about a huge patch that has just dropped. There's a lot to cover, but for this video we are going to be taking a look at Ties That Bind changes. The changes made to Amara's action skill are actually very significant. The patch notes were not very clear as to what those changes were, so the purpose of this video is for me to show you exactly what those changes are. So before I get into this quick video, if you found it informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you would subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. So first, let's take a look at what the patch notes say about Ties That Bind. First, it says, the Siren's Ties That Bind skill now scales properly with action skill damage. This is an awesome change. What this means is that now both do harm and action skill damage increases from class mods will actually increase the damage dealt by Ties That Bind. And yes, this is good news for the Phaser class mod because now you can actually stack do harm. It also says, adjusted the Siren's Ties That Bind skill to reflect the damage dealt in game. And if you take a look at the description of Ties That Bind, it has now changed to link 35% of the damage down to 20. So we see a nerf here. And let me tell you, it is actually pretty impactful. I am not going to complain though because it was pretty overpowered before. However, you can still do more damage than before, which I'll explain later. So let's go ahead and put Ties That Bind to the test. I am currently on Mayhem 0 and I'm using a weapon that deals 1108 damage. My action skill element is Shock. I will be shooting enemies that have red bars, and I'm using Tempest, which increases my elemental damage by 30%, and the shock damage is increased by 40%. So if I shoot a target, Ties That Bind is going to deal 1108. It's going to take 20% of that because this has been changed. So 20% of that, and then Shock Against Flesh is 65% effective, so you multiply by 0.65. And finally, we apply the Tempest skill of 40%. We end up getting around 201.6 damage, which is actually going to be 202. So let me show you right now. We're just going to grab a random enemy, shoot it. As you can see, 202 shock and 1108 for the main target. 1108, 202. Now, this is very interesting. On Mayhem 10, we should be getting a 600% increase. However, there has been a minor change that was not stated in the patch notes. Instead of a 600% increase, now we're getting around a 578% increase. So, on Mayhem 10, we should do 202 multiplied by 6.78, and we should get like 1369. And as you can see, 1108 turned into 1368. If it was a 600% increase like it was yesterday, this would have been around 1400 damage. And I know that difference doesn't seem like a whole lot, but remember we also have the link damage, which instead of 35%, it's now only 20% of the damage. And right now I'll show you an example to show you exactly how much damage you're missing out on compared to what we were getting before. So really quickly, I have something set up, just a quick build. Not really super optimized, not that many increases, but we have this chaos in and it's going to be able to put out 12,649 damage, and that's what it's going to do to the main target. So let's calculate how much we would get now and how much we would get before. So right now we multiply by 0.2 because Ties That Bind gets that 20% from that damage, then Shock Against Flesh 0.65, then the Tempest increase of 40%, and finally, the 578% increase on Mayhem 10, so we multiply by 6.78, we end up getting around 15k damage. However, before this patch, instead of getting 20% of that, we would get 35% of that, and instead of multiplying by 6.78, we would multiply by 7 because we were getting a 600% increase. So we would actually be getting 28k. So let's go ahead and try it, and with these nerfs, we should only get 15k, not 28k. Grab this enemy. As you can see, there it is. So 12k on the main target like we said. Link damage 15k to all of these guys. Yesterday, this would have been 28k. And this is a very significant nerf. We are now doing 55% of the damage we were doing yesterday. Or if you want to treat it as how much it was decreased by, it's a 45% decrease in damage to Tized Bind. Doesn't matter what numbers you plug in there, the fact that it's 20% instead of 35% and then a 578% increase instead of a 600% increase, it's always going to give you that 45% less damage that we were doing before. However, you can get that damage back by using Do Harm stacks. As I already explained earlier, Tized Bind is now affected by action skill damage increases. So if you use Do Harm and Awakening, you should be getting a 5.9% increase to your action skill damage per stack. And how many rush stacks do we have? Well, we have 10 by default and 10 more thanks to Avatar. That makes 20. So in total, we should get a 118% increase in action skill damage. And with this additional increase, that 15k suddenly turns to around 33 or 34k damage, which is already more than what we were doing yesterday. So let me go ahead and try this. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself the 20 stacks of rush. Get it? We're going to shoot. As you can see, we have the 12k that we were normally doing, and the link damage is now 33k thanks to Do Harm. And keep in mind, this is higher than what we would have gotten yesterday before the nerf. Like we said earlier, yesterday we would have gotten 28k. So now it's higher than 28k. And to be more specific, with 20 stacks of Do Harm, you are already doing 20% more damage than we were doing yesterday. So technically they nerfed Tized Bind. So technically it was a nerf, but if you play your cards right, you can turn it into a buff. And yes, if you equip a phase of your class mod, this is going to give you 5 more stacks, so you'll be able to get 25 stacks of rush. And you can actually go ahead and fake grasp a bunch of times, and you can stack up to 99 stacks of Do Harm. There it is. And with 99 stacks of Do Harm, each one doing 5.9% increased damage, you end up doing around 585% increased action skill damage, which will make Tized Bind even more insane than it was. And if you want to get more specific, with 99 stacks of Do Harm, we will do around 280% more damage than we were doing before this patch. So once again, technically it got a nerf, but if you play your cards right, it's technically a massive buff. So quick example here, let me link these guys. Now this guy took 33k, these guys took 284k. And just to show you what we would do before this technical nerf, it would have been around 74k damage. But now we're getting 284k. So as you can see, technically it got a nerf, but if you play your cards right, you get that massive buff. And finally, one more thing before I end the video. Yes, Tized Bind still double dips into everything it was double dipping into. So 300 over 90, Urad Anoint, 50% elemental on your grenade or shield, amongst other things. So don't worry about no double dipping anymore. It's still happening. So anyways, that's going to do it for today. If you guys found it helpful or informative in any way, a like rating is always appreciated. And if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.